Hi, Algebra 1 Essentials. Miss Waite here with another algebra video for you. Here is a little review of what we did last time. We found the slope and the y-intercept of equations that look like this. And so if you'll pause this video and try these on your own, and then when you're ready, come on back and we'll talk about it. Alrighty. So when you have equations in slope-intercept form, it's really handy because you can tell exactly how steep the line is and where it crosses the y-axis, which is all you need in order to graph the line, which is actually what we're going to do today. So looking at slope-intercept form, it looks like this: y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. And so you can always tell what that, why is this thing flashing? It's bothering me. Is that bothering you? It's not flashing. Okay, fantastic. So we can always tell the slope and the y-intercept just by looking at the equation. So in number 1, the 8 is sitting there next to the x, so we know that that is the slope. And then the y-intercept is negative 11. Remember, we have to pull that negative right along with that number. In number 2, sitting next to the x is 3/4, and sometimes you'll see it like this, but it's the same as stacking them. And then the y-intercept is 2. And then in this one, we know that the slope is 0 because that's going to be the way that slopes, the slope is always 0 on a horizontal line, and the y-intercept is 6. That's where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, so this is what's going to help us actually finally graph these lines in slope-intercept form. But before we get there, it's time to update that old notebook, get yourself some questions, some summaries, and a new note page, and then come on back when you're ready. Okay, the essential question today: how can you graph the equation y equals mx plus b? And the topic finally is graphing equations in slope-intercept form. Here we go. So another recap. So far, we've graphed equations in 2 ways. We made a table and plotted points, but we found that that wasn't the greatest way because there was a lot of work. So then we started looking for shortcuts. And one of the shortcuts we noticed was that if your equation is in standard form, then you can pop zeros into that thing and find some intercepts so you could graph a line. Then we started talking about slope-intercept form, and we kind of already know about intercepts from talking about it with standard form, but then we needed to kind of dig into slope because it's kind of an important concept. So we learned what a slope is, we learned how to find it if you have a graph, we learned how to find it if you have a table, and we used the slope formula to calculate a slope. But now, friends, it's time to actually graph equations in slope-intercept form, and here's how you do it. So a linear equation in slope-intercept form looks like this: y equals mx plus b. And it's called slope-intercept form because you can easily tell both the slope and the y-intercept. And this is the pieces that we're going to use in order to graph. So we're about ready now to use that information to graph the line. But I wanted to remind you of one thing: slope is rise over run, which is like the y values over the x values, the up and down over the side to side, the rise over the run. Important to remember. So how can we use the slope intercept form of an equation to graph an equation? Well, the first thing you do is identify the slope and the y-intercept. That's what we did in the last lesson. And then you're going to plot that y-intercept on the graph, and then you're going to use the slope to get more points. Here's what I mean. You get this ruler out of the way. So first of all, I'm going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Well, here's the slope, m equals 2 over 3. And so I did that, and the y-intercept is negative 6. That's where it crosses the y-axis, and so I have taken care of that part. And that's exactly what we did last lesson. Now I want to plot the y-intercept, and this just means I'm going to drop a point on y equals -6 because I need to put a point where we cross the y-axis. So I'm going to count down the y-axis. Remember, this is x and this is y, and we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we know that our line is going to cross the y-axis right there. And so we plotted the y-intercept. Now we're going to use the slope to get more points. So we've taken care of using this part. Now we're going to use the slope. Remember, the slope is the rise over the run. And so what we know is that we're going to have to go up 2 and to the right 3 because our slope is 2/3. So from our point, our y-intercept, we're going to go up 2, 1, 2, and over 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is, my calibration is off so that those points aren't exactly right, but 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Here you go, right there. That's another point on that line. Now, it says use the slope to get more points, so you could do it again. You could go up 2, 1, 2, and to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, and get another point right there. And then all you'd need to do is grab a ruler, line it up on those points, and draw your line. Pretty slick, huh? This is why understanding slope and y-intercept is so important, because it's so handy. You can use it to do just about anything. You can plot just about any line if you know the slope and the y-intercept. So let's do this a few more times just so we get comfy with it. So let's graph this equation here, y equals 5/7 x plus 2, and let's do that one in red. And so first of all, we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Well, the slope is 5/7, and the y-intercept is 2. So we've taken care of this part. Then we're going to plot the y-intercept. Well, we know that this line crosses the y-axis at 2. So there we go. There's our y-intercept. Now we're going to use the slope to get more points. Well, we know that the slope is the rise over the run. So what this slope is telling us to do is to go up 5 units and to the right 7 units. Up and to the right because they're both positive. So I'm going to go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and to the right 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there it is. Oops, this thing is not lined up. Now that's about it because I can't go up 5 and over 7 and get another point on this line, and so I'm going to, and I don't have a ruler here, so let's grab one. And I wonder if I'll be able to do this quickly. Probably not. I don't know how to, oh, it doesn't want to turn. Well, never mind. I won't take your time, but you should use a ruler to make these straight. Here comes your line. There it is. And we're done with that first one. Okay? All right, now let's do the second one. Let's do this one in green. So the first step is to identify the slope and the y-intercept. And so let's see, our slope is 3/4 and our y-intercept is 3. Here's the slope, here's the y-intercept. So we took care of that. Now we're going to plot the y-intercept, and we know that this line crosses the y-axis at 3. So 1, 2, 3 is where we put our point. Took care of that. And then we're going to use the slope to get more points. Well, the slope is the rise over the run, so we're going to go up 3 and to the right 4 from this point. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you go. And can we do it again? Up 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. Sure, we can still fit. And there you go. And this line is really close to that other line, isn't it? There we go. And you can graph lines if you know the slope and the y-intercept. A couple more times, huh? All righty. So a couple of things that are a little bit different about this one. Let's identify the slope and the y-intercept of number 1. Let's do this one in red. Well, the slope is 4, and the y-intercept is 5. Everything still normal. You're just identifying the slope and the y-intercept. Then let's plot that y-intercept. Well, we know that this line crosses the y-axis at 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is right there. We plotted that. Now we're going to use the slope to get more points. But look at that slope. It doesn't look like a rise over a run, does it? But you can easily change whole number slopes into rise over runs by taking that number and putting it over the number 1. Because 4 divided by 1 is still 4. And now you have a rise and a run. So anytime you have a whole number slope, just put it over 1. And then you'll have a rise and a run. So we're going to go up 4 and to the right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1. There it is. And then we can draw our line, and I would use that ruler, but I don't want to take a bunch of time. And there we go. There is that line. It's terrible looking, but you get the idea. Now remember what this looks like. Y equals 5 is a horizontal line at y equals 5. So we know that the slope of this thing is going to be 0 because there's no x there, which means there's no slope. And then we know that this crosses the y-axis at 5. And so y equals 5 is right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes right across right there. Done. Yeah. Even with those horizontal and vertical lines, we can still use these steps. Okay, let's do a few more. Let's graph these equations. First, we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. The slope of this one is -1/2, and the y-intercept is -4. So then we are going to plot the y-intercept. Well, notice that the y-intercept is -4, so it crosses the y-axis at -1, 2, 3, 4 down here, and we've taken care of that part. And then we're going to use the slope to get more points. So this says -1/2. So we're going to go down 1 because down is the negative direction, and then to the right 2. So down 1 and to the right 2. So down 1 and to the right 1, 2 to get that point right there. We can do it again, down 1 and to the right 2, and that's our slope. Down 1 and to the right 2. And this gives us this negative slope that we expect. Because if the slope is negative, wow, that's terrible. Oh, that's even worse. I'm just messing this up like crazy. If the slope is negative, then you know your line slopes down going from left to right. I'll try it again. Here we go. I've seen worse. There you go. All right, so we did all of that for number 1. Now let's look at number 2. We'll do this one in red. We're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Well, the slope is 2/3, and the y-intercept is -4. And so now we're going to plot the y-intercept. Well, the line crosses the y-axis at -4, so we count down the y-axis 1, 2, 3, 4, and we end up right about here. And now we are going to go up 2 and over 3 because we're going to use the slope to find more points. So up 2, 1, 2, to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, and we get this point here, and we can do it as many times as we want. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and there you go. And now we make our line, and it's pretty terrible, but there you go. All right, let's do this one in green. We're going to identify, oops, I didn't check this one off. Got to do that. We did that part. First, we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So the slope is 2/5, and the y-intercept is 1. So we did that. Now we're going to plot the y-intercepts. Let's see, it's on right there because it's on 1 on the y-axis, so we took care of that. And now we're going to use the slope to get more points. We're going to go up 2 And to the right, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is. And here comes the line. Not terrible. Not good either. That's how you do it, you guys. It's just those 3 steps. Identify the slope and the y-intercept, plot the y-intercept, and use the slope to get more points. So your practice is on quizzes. It's called Graphing Equations in Slope-Intercept Form. Don't forget, I have office hours, and you can also email me if you need some help. Have a great day, you guys. Bye.